Welcome to Endless Love Stories. Before we dive into today's shocking tale of family manipulation and true love, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you believe love should be built on honesty, not deception. Jake Morrison had been planning the perfect proposal for weeks. At 26, he was finally ready to marry the woman who'd changed his entire world. The engagement ring sat hidden in his bedroom drawer, a simple but elegant diamond that had taken him months to save for. Tonight was supposed to be the night he'd ask Emma Rodriguez to be his wife. But fate had other plans that would shatter everything he thought he knew about his family. Emma was everything Jake had never known he wanted. She was a kindergarten teacher who lit up every room she entered, spending her own money on supplies for underprivileged students and staying late to tutor kids who needed extra help. Coming from a working-class family, Emma had put herself through college with scholarships and part-time jobs, graduating with honors despite the odds stacked against her. When Jake met her at a community fundraiser 18 months ago, he was immediately drawn to her genuine warmth and infectious laugh. Jake came from money, though he tried not to let it define him. The Morrison family owned a chain of luxury hotels across the Northeast, and Jake had grown up with every privilege imaginable. But unlike his materialistic relatives, Jake volunteered at homeless shelters and donated most of his trust fund income to charity. Emma made him want to be an even better person, and her humble background never mattered to him. In fact, it made him admire her strength and determination even more. Their relationship had been a fairy tale from the beginning. Emma never asked Jake for anything expensive, preferring homemade dinners to fancy restaurants and hiking dates to shopping sprees. She loved him for his kind heart and goofy sense of humor, not his bank account. Jake's family had been polite to Emma during their few meetings, though he noticed his mother Patricia seemed unusually interested in Emma's background and future plans. The night everything changed started perfectly. Jake had arranged a romantic dinner at their favorite small Italian restaurant, the same place where they'd had their first official date. The ring box felt heavy in his jacket pocket as he walked up to his childhood home to pick up his grandmother's antique locket, a family heirloom he wanted to give Emma along with the proposal. He planned to tell her it represented how she'd become part of his family's legacy. As Jake approached the front door, he heard voices coming from the open living room window. His mother Patricia was on the phone, and something in her tone made him pause instead of announcing his arrival. "I'm telling you, Margaret, we need to move fast," Patricia was saying urgently. "Jake's completely smitten with this little teacher, and if we don't act soon, she might start asking uncomfortable questions about the family finances." Jake's blood ran cold as he listened from outside, hidden by the large oak tree near the window. "The girl's smarter than she looks," Patricia continued. "She's already started asking Jake about his consulting work and why he can afford such a nice apartment on what she thinks he makes. Hook her before she gets smart enough to dig deeper into what the Morrison money really comes from." The words hit Jake like a physical blow. His mother wasn't just talking about rushing the engagement. She was treating Emma like a threat to be neutralized. But what terrified Jake even more was the implication that there was something dark about the family money that Emma might discover. "Once they're married, she'll be legally tied to the family," Patricia went on. "We can control her better then. Right now, she has too much independence, too much ability to walk away if she learns the truth about the hotels and our other business ventures. Jake's too honest for his own good. He might actually tell her everything if she asks the right questions." Jake's mind raced as puzzle pieces began falling into place. His family's wealth had always seemed disproportionate to their hotel business, but he'd never questioned it. His father's mysterious business trips and late-night phone calls, the way certain family conversations stopped when Jake entered the room, the expensive lifestyle that didn't quite match their legitimate income. Suddenly everything looked suspicious. "The boy's planning to propose any day now," Patricia continued, and Jake's heart sank. "I can see it in his eyes. We just need to make sure it happens before that little teacher starts connecting dots she shouldn't connect. Once she's Mrs. Morrison, she'll be part of our world whether she likes it or not, and she'll have too much to lose by exposing us." Jake realized with horror that his mother was talking about Emma like she was an enemy to be trapped rather than the woman he loved. The proposal he'd been so excited about was being manipulated by his family as a way to silence Emma and protect whatever illegal activities they were involved in. His romantic gesture was being twisted into a weapon against the most honest person he'd ever known. Unable to listen anymore, Jake quietly left his family's property and drove around for hours, trying to process what he'd learned. The engagement ring felt like it was burning a hole in his pocket, no longer a symbol of love, but a tool of manipulation his family expected him to use. He couldn't propose to Emma under these circumstances, but he also couldn't tell her what he'd overheard without potentially destroying her faith in their relationship. The next morning, Jake made the hardest decision of his life. Instead of proposing, he sat Emma down and told her he needed time to figure some things out about his family and his future. Emma was confused and hurt, especially since Jake had been dropping hints about their future together for weeks. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked, tears in her eyes. "Are you having second thoughts about us?" "Never about us," Jake assured her, his heart breaking. "But I need to understand some things about my family before I can move forward. I love you too much to bring you into something without knowing what it really is." Emma didn't understand, but she respected Jake's need for answers. What she didn't know was that Jake had started his own investigation into Morrison family finances, hiring a private investigator and combing through business records. What he discovered was worse than he'd imagined: money laundering through the hotel chain, connections to organized crime, and tax evasion schemes going back decades. For 3 months, Jake gathered evidence while pretending everything was normal with his family. Emma grew increasingly distant, convinced that Jake was losing interest in their relationship. The strain was unbearable, but Jake knew he had to protect her from his family's criminal world, even if it meant losing her in the process. The breaking point came when Patricia cornered Jake at a family dinner. "You're taking too long with that teacher," she said coldly. "Either propose to her this week, or we'll find another way to handle the situation. She's been asking too many questions around town about our business operations. People are starting to talk." Jake realized his family was prepared to hurt Emma if he didn't marry her quickly enough to keep her quiet. That night, he made copies of all the evidence he'd gathered and called the FBI. Then he drove to Emma's apartment, knowing this might be the last time he ever saw her. "I need to tell you everything," he said when she opened the door. "My family isn't who you think they are, and I'm not who I thought I was either." Jake laid out the whole truth: the criminal activities, his mother's plan to trap Emma through marriage, and his own investigation that would likely destroy his family but protect her from their schemes. Emma listened in shock as the man she loved revealed a world of deception she'd never suspected. "You've known about this for months and didn't tell me?" she asked, feeling betrayed by his secrecy, even though she understood his motives. "I was trying to protect you," Jake explained. "My family sees you as a threat because you're smart enough to figure out their secrets. They wanted me to marry you quickly so they could control you better, but I couldn't trap you in a marriage built on lies." Emma realized that Jake had sacrificed his own happiness and their relationship to keep her safe from his family's criminal world. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "Now I testify against my family and probably lose everything I've ever known," Jake said. "But I'd rather be broke and honest than rich and corrupt. I just hope someday you can forgive me for not telling you sooner." The FBI investigation led to multiple arrests and the collapse of the Morrison criminal empire. Jake testified against his family members and forfeited his inheritance, but he finally felt free from the weight of their corruption. Emma stood by him throughout the trial, realizing that his actions proved how much he truly loved her. 6 months after the arrests, Jake proposed to Emma with the same ring he'd originally chosen. But this time the proposal came with complete honesty about who he was and what their future would look like. They married in a small ceremony attended by Emma's family and the few Morrison relatives who weren't facing criminal charges. Jake became a legitimate hotel manager at a competitor's chain, and Emma continued teaching. Their simple life built on truth rather than tainted money. The lesson in their story is powerful. Real love means protecting each other from harm, even when that protection requires personal sacrifice. Jake learned that family loyalty should never come at the expense of integrity, and Emma discovered that sometimes the greatest proof of love is someone willing to lose everything rather than deceive you. Thank you for watching Endless Love Stories. If this tale of choosing love over family loyalty moved you, please subscribe to our channel and share this video with someone who believes that honesty is the foundation of true love.